Hello. Today is December 5th, 2012, and you are listening to I Think You Think, a podcast that puts a new spin on debate and discussion. I'm Justin. On the other side of my computer screen is James.
Hello, folks.
And we are your hosts, and we carry no credentials worth noting. I Think You Think is a podcast that focuses on what we, your hosts, think, but also what you think. Too many times we spend debates and discussions talking past one another and not enough time trying to learn and understand why someone thinks what they think. This is what makes I Think You Think different, because we are focused on why people think the way that they do and why we think the way that we do. James and I believe that the forum of ideas should be open to everyone, and everyone should have an opportunity to challenge and be challenged by ideas. We're not here to pass judgment, but merely discuss ideas and topics. This podcast, first and foremost, is a conversation between us and hopefully, in the future, you. I Think You Think is produced by StolenArts Productions and is recorded live at Fisher International Studios. How you doing today, James?
Doing good, doing good. No work today, so it was a nice relaxing day. Laundry's out of the way.
Nice, nice.
How about yourself?
Well, I did have to work today, but as in most cases, my job is relatively easy, so it was not overly difficult. We've got a couple of topics that we want to dive right into. First off, there was a court case. I tried my darndest to find out when it all started, because now it's gotten before the Supreme Court. And some of you might have heard about it. You might have even heard about it. It's John Wiley and Sons versus Kirtsaeng, and it's a copyright law case. Basically, just to kind of give you a background, this enterprising student, whose last name is Kirtsaeng, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, from Thai. He's a Thai student, and he came. He purchased many books for his classes that he was taking here in the United States from Thai publishers, and then just had them sent over. Now, the Thai publishers can produce the books at a much lower price than they are produced here in the United States, and so because of that, he then took those books and sold them to other students at the school he was going to, and was making money hand over fist. I've seen a couple of different amounts, somewhere in the neighborhood of $900,000 that he made, upwards I've heard as much as $3 million. So either way, he made a buku amount of money doing this. And so John Wiley and Sons, that's the people who own the copyright to these textbooks, decided to sue him because, somebody's stealing their money, as they believe. And so now this court case, which evidently has been going on for a while, but now it's reached the Supreme Court. The last things I heard on it is as of October 29th, so the end of October, they had oral arguments before the Supreme Court. The article I read today said that they're not expecting any kind of results or anything about the case until early next year. So here we are sitting with this situation, and what it really comes down to is resaleability. Who has the rights to something once you've purchased it? Do those rights still belong to the original copyright owner, or do the rights now belong to the person who purchased the copyrighted material? So, thoughts, or what have you read?
Well, I haven't, I read the original article that you sent me about it, and I found it really interesting, and it made me think of other things that are happening with media and ownership. I think it was somewhere in Scandinavia, maybe it was Norway. I'm not sure. I don't have any details on it, but I read it on one of my news feeds that someone got all of their Amazon digital books taken away, and they couldn't get an answer from Amazon as to why. Their account was basically blacklisted. They weren't able to do anything with it, and they fought and they fought and they fought and they got it back. But they had paid for those books, And Amazon decided, for reasons they didn't even feel like they had to disclose to the owner of those books, that no, you can't have access to those books anymore. Um, we're done. So, I mean, it seems like, when we were growing up, you buy a book, you own a book. I mean, even now, you buy a CD, you buy a DVD, a Blu-ray, you own it. It's yours. If you want to go to GameStop or your local resale place, whether it's books or CDs or movies, you can just resell them back, for whatever price, and then they can sell them again. And that's just kind of the way it works. Now, none of us are making, a million or more dollars doing that. So obviously, this is a totally exaggerated version of what most people do, every year to some degree. Um, so I think it's kind of scary if they win the case, the publishing company, because the precedent that sets for, the average person in the future. Can I get sued if I want to go sell my copy of Red Dead Redemption, which, by the way, I don't want to go sell it. I'm going to keep it. But am I going to get sued? I mean, are they going to need a cut? If I get $10 for it, do I need to send out to Rockstar $1? That is where it really starts to get murky. I mean, he basically created a business, and I could see where, you know, the government could intercede and, you've made this much money, you need to establish yourself as a business, whatever, you need to pay taxes, whatever, business licenses, things like that. That would make sense. I mean, he made a lot of money. That makes sense when you're doing that much. You got that much cash coming in for something you're doing. He's basically an import business at that point. Um, but for the publishing company to step in and say, no, we printed these books and we did not give you permission to sell them, for me, it just seems like a power play from a bigger perspective, not just this publishing company, but publishing companies in general, producers of media in general. I don't know why they wouldn't back it. I don't know if they're involved in the case in any way, shape, or form, but it seems like it would be a win for them, overall. I mean, what if iTunes could decide, because of whatever reason, you broke one of their terms and conditions, that everything you've gotten from them, you can't have anymore? And I mean, people buy a lot of stuff from iTunes, videos, audiobooks, full on movies, CDs, all this stuff. What if they could do that and say, no, you can't have that anymore, and somehow actually take it away? You know,
Well, the one thing that I was thinking about regarding this, and it's interesting you bring up things like the iTunes and the Amazon, because those are digital medias, and if one thing the kind of computer generation that we've sort of lived in, and the torrents and things that are out there that allow you for easy dissemination of digital information, because digital information is easy to copy, to reproduce, and to give out to other people or sell to other people. I can sort of understand why there might be a pushback. I mean, we've been seeing pushback since the '90s, when places like Napster and some of those other sort of
the peer to peers
yeah, the
like
peer-to-peer
Kazaa, and
sites,
there
yeah,
were a bunch of them back then.
Kazaa,
Yeah,
yeah, that really got hammered hard with this. Um, the thing about that I don't understand about this case is that we're not talking about, the guy is not, he's not taking the books and then printing them himself, or he doesn't have like a digital copy of the book and then he's printing them in his basement and selling that. To me, that would be an obvious violation of copyright. But he's actually physically buying the books, moving them to another location, and then reselling them. And to me, once he's purchased that book, it's not an infringement of copyright. He's not claiming that this is his work, which would be an infringement of copyright. He's not taking the work and reproducing it and selling it, because that would be an infringement of copyright. He's taking it. It's not unlike, I mean, you said it even, it's not unlike me going into a local Best Buy, buying a CD, and then taking it and me listening to it for 6 minutes and saying, God, I hate this, and my buddy coming over and go, hey, I'll buy it from you for $10. It, once the, and to me, there's no kind of a copyright thing. And yeah, I tried to find it, but I couldn't find, because most people aren't aware that when things get as high up in the court systems as like the Supreme Court, they've there have been courts below the Supreme Court who have ruled on something. When it gets to the Supreme Court, they're not actually ruling on whether or not someone is guilty or not guilty. They're ruling at that point on whether or not their procedures during the court cases were followed correctly, or whether or not a particular term needs to be interpreted in a different way. That's really what goes on when you appeal. You're not appealing saying, I disagree with this decision, I want someone else to listen to our case. It's, I disagree with this decision because the judge misinterpreted X or misinterpreted Y. And so I don't know if like Wiley and Sons or Kirtsaeng had won the initial case, and it's, you know, Kirtsaeng or Wiley and Sons who are the ones who are appealing it.
Right.
Because I think that would make a huge difference. If it's Kirtsaeng who's appealing it, then that's scary that these lower courts have said this. And so we're basically, for the Supreme Court to then overturn something, that's a bigger deal than if originally the first court sided with Kirtsaeng and it's Wiley and Sons that are appealing it.
Yeah, either way, no matter which way it goes, you know, once it's a Supreme Court decision, that's going to hold so much more power in the lower courts.
Right.
When things come up, and a lawyer can actually cite that as, you know, precedents for whatever they're trying to argue, you know. So, I mean, I really hope that the publishing company doesn't win, personally, just because I feel like it's going to really set the bar in a place for things like this. It's really dangerous for the future as far as consumers and just owning things. And, you know, your point on digital media, that, you know, you're right. I mean, it's still broken. You know, I mean, I could probably, you know, you could probably list off, if we had listed 10 of those textbooks, I could probably go onto whatever the torrent sites are now and probably find some of them in digital format, you know, or the newest Britney Spears album or whatever like that. Right. System on that end is still broken, but that's a totally, you know, in many, many ways, it's a totally different conversation about how, you know, the protection of that digital media. So we as consumers can still purchase things in that way because it's easier. You know, like I own Elf on Amazon.com. I could watch it on my phone right now, you know, or on my TV or on my computer or on my Kindle Fire, you know, like wherever I am, as long as I have a good internet connection, I can watch Elf forever. And that actually makes me very happy. You know, so digital media is awesome. It's fantastic. The books, music, etc. But when we're talking about like these handheld whatever, you know, I go buy the video game, I go buy my textbook, which are ungodly expensive, you know, and them still claiming some right to it.
Unless, of course, you obviously get it from a Taiwanese company.
Right. You know, I mean, and I would really like to, I'd be very interested to know exactly what arguments the lawyers or the publishing company are using. You know.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I mean, I was really trying to find, I was doing some Google searching to try to figure out if there's even somebody, some like blogosphere kind of person who's out there who's saying, oh yeah, Kurzweil. Oh my God.
They've merged.
Yeah,
they're one person now.
You know who Kurzweil is?
No.
Oh, okay. He's you got to look him up, but he's a guy who's been around for a long time, got really big into computers, and he's got some interesting ideas about what the future entails with humans and electronics and technology and everything kind of merging together into one. But either way, that's a completely different conversation. Anyway, Kirtsaeng. I was trying to find anybody out there who was saying Kirtsaeng's wrong and this is why he's wrong. You know, trying to find out what are the arguments that Wiley and Sons or their attorneys more specifically are using. And that's why it would be nice to know, but I'm with you. I don't even know what it really is, because to me they're not violating any copyright infringements.
Right. I could understand if, again, the government was like, well, maybe there's tariffs on bringing it in. It's not a term you hear very often anymore. I'm sure it's going on all the time. I'm sure we still have tariffs. We don't deal with it as a regular consumer. That would make sense. Maybe if the publishing company was arguing that they priced the books in the foreign countries to help their educational system because they have a completely different economy than we do.
Right.
Although I think everything's kind of leveling out over the last 5 years. Um, whatever it might be. I mean, that might make sense. They're taking advantage of us practically donating the books to this country. Um, and that could be an argument, but that's not really copyright. And I mean,
Yeah,
I
again,
don't know.
that's that right. I mean, that's not a copyright thing. That's something that, it's an economical decision that the company made, and someone is taking advantage of it, and maybe there's something in the law that's supposed to protect companies from getting taken advantage of like that. But yeah, so I don't know. All I can find is a bunch of articles just basically stating what I surmised at the beginning about what's going on. I will say that from what I understand, if the Supreme Court should rule in favor of Wiley and Sons instead of Kirtsaeng, um, it won't affect anything that's purchased. That's not purchased, but that's made in the United States. It's only on products that are made in other countries that are then shipped to the United States. Now, since we're a huge importer, that's a majority of the products that we sell. That we purchase. Uh, but you and I play video games that are created by Canadian and European and Japanese companies as well as American companies, but then they're made in Canada and they're made in Europe and they're made in Japan, and sometimes they're made in the United States. The actual game, the actual putting the product onto a disc and the disc being uh,
Packaged and shipped.
packaged and shipped, and so yeah, I mean that's a thing that a lot of electronics we buy. I mean, the computers we're sitting behind probably were manufactured in other countries, even if the company is a company that is based out of the United States.
Right, right. And what's to stop? I mean, if this ruling goes in favor of the publishing company and it gives an extra advantage to these creators of video games, books, whatever it is, if the product is made outside of this country, what's to stop them from just pushing more jobs out of this country? Whether it be Canada or Mexico or as far away as areas of Asia to get that extra level of protection.
Right, right. If
You
you
know what I
put,
mean?
yeah, yeah. If you have a copyrighted material, then it's gonna behoove you to put that product being manufactured in another country, so that you have that extra level of protection. That way, you're done. I mean, you're protected.
Right. And I mean, it's a double hit, to the average person, like we definitely don't need to lose any more jobs to overseas. And, again, it's going to risk us not really owning what we own. I mean, can the guy who made my entertainment stand or the gal who made my entertainment stand, show up if I try to sell it at a garage sale and ask for half of what I get for it?
Right.
I mean, how far does it go? Because I don't think it was made in America. So, I don't know. I mean, it's getting kind of silly saying
It
it like that, but
well,
it's
I
a,
mean, and on the Colbert Show, he made fun of that very concept, and I don't know. Sometimes maybe it's okay to make fun of these kinds of things and take it to an extreme like that, but it's a good question to ask. I mean, sure, is the typical company going to come after somebody who's having a garage sale? No, but can they? If they wanted to, if they really wanted to expend the time and energy, and even something even more kind of um, philosophical about it, we're talking about, do we own that product? Is it actually ours? Is it something that is mine, or does it actually belong to the copyright owner?
right.
Uh,
And how far does that really, really go?
whoop, sorry about that. I
No
don't know if you
problem.
heard that.
I did. I did.
Okay.
It sounded like the end of the podcast. We're still here, guys. I promise.
we haven't gone anywhere. That was just my phone um, telling me what is on sale at Woot, so that
Oh,
I can
nice.
ship it in and somebody else can own the copyright.
you know.
Um, uh, yeah, yeah, no, I'm not. Oh, man, now I don't even know where we were at.
Well, the thing is, I think a ruling like this can be the cornerstone for a series of laws that can slowly take away those rights, because it only takes that one ruling that's a foundation for a lawyer to argue on. And I don't understand the law. I'm not a lawyer. I've seen law on TV, but my general understanding is that once there's,
A
the
precedent.
first right, and then they can build with other ones. And these big corporations that want to get our money two times, because Apple likes nothing more than I didn't back up my iTunes stuff and my computer crashed, because then you get to go buy all the stuff again. You know, corporations like that. Don't buy it once, please buy it twice, maybe three times if you're lucky.
Yeah.
But with that cornerstone to start building that building of, related laws and related precedences, then we really start getting into trouble, because I know like PlayStation or Sony, if you will, and Microsoft with the Xbox would love if you bought a game, you not to be able to resell it. I've heard about it. I've read articles about it. Part of it is, people just extrapolating on things and they maybe don't really have any solid information. But when you think about it logically, why would they want you to be able to resell their games?
Right. They're
What?
not getting anything on the back end of a resale. They don't get
Right.
anything for that. They've got all their money on the first purchase.
And like you and I, we could agree, like, hey, I'm going to buy Dishonored and you're going to buy Halo 4. And then when you've beat that, when we're both done, we'll meet up, we'll swap them, and then we'll swap them back, once
Right.
we're done playing them both. We both only bought one game, but we got to play two. And even that wouldn't be possible, with what they would like to do. They basically, once you register that disc, that's it. It's
It's
tied to
tied
that
to
system
that
or
system.
your account or whatever,
Right.
however it
Right.
would work.
Exactly. And you actually, I mean, um, this is already something that's taking place in the video game world. I mean, I used to, I loved GameStop. That was the place that I used to go to. I loved buying used games. GameStop was good about taking care of the used games that they'd get in, and they would stand behind them for 90 days. Um, and so I always used to buy used games. I was like, why buy new? Why buy new? I can get it for less. However, companies got smart and they've started now releasing many of the games. For example, one of my favorite games, Mass Effect 3, it released, and if you didn't buy a new game, you didn't get access to the online portion. You could get access to it if you then spent Microsoft points, or because it's on PlayStation, whatever the equivalent to
Yeah, I
PlayStation.
think it's actually dollars, I think, on PlayStation, but
Okay,
I've never really bought anything, so not sure.
yeah, but you could buy the add-on so that you could play online, or you could buy the game new and get that online. Now, I would have bought Mass Effect 3 new regardless, um, but but I've started buying games new in the chance that maybe there's content that I wouldn't get access to if I didn't buy it new. And I don't like buying a game and I'm only going to get half a disc or half a game.
Right.
And so they've, I don't buy them for $60 unless it's a game that I really want. I wait for deals and specials on the new games. Best Buy is very good about doing that. And so I take advantage of those when I see them. But I feel compelled to have to buy new and not buy used because of that.
Right. And the same thing happens to me. For me, it's pre-order stuff. I haven't really experienced or,
Yes.
known about like the online for Mass Effect 3. Still haven't played the game. I know I'm way behind the rest of the world. I've never played Mass Effect. But
I've got
some of
all
the
three.
pre-order stuff,
Never
I'm
even
really
caught up.
it makes the difference, you know what I mean? For me, like Borderlands 2, I got a bunch of stuff for pre-ordering it. And it's like I don't want to miss out on that. I find myself like when I'm at GameStop and they're like, "You want to get any pre-orders?" And I'm like, "Well, with that game, what do I get if I pre-order it?" And then they tell me, and then it's like, "Oh, okay." So I've bought in the past, I think it's now 3 months. I've paid full price for three games, which is a lot for me. Normally, I'll wait. I will,
Yeah.
I put a dollar amount. I'm like, that game is a $30 game. Like Dishonored for me would have been a $30 game. I bought it brand new. Shouldn't have. In retrospect, I should have waited till it was $30. Not that it's a bad game; it's a good game. I've been enjoying it. But for the way I play games and the amount of time I'm going to get in that, it's a $30 game for me, and I knew it. And for the pre-order, I made the mistake of spending the $60. We have gone totally on a tangent on video games and repurchasing.
Well, I mean, it's still on the same kind of topic with copyright. I mean, the video games have come up with a different way to deal with it.
Right.
And their different way of dealing with it, for good or bad. And the market will decide this in time, or we will decide this as the consumers, or we have decided by what we're doing. But they've made a decision that you will not get the entire game unless you pre-order one copy from Best Buy, you pre-order a second copy from GameStop, you pre-order a third copy from Walmart or something.
Yeah.
Pick them all up, pay $180 for all three games, which then we won't be able to resell, right? In order to get all of the content, and then over the next year, there's going to be additional content that's going to come out. However, they've partnered with Microsoft so that we can buy a season pass, so that we get one of those contents for free over the next year. And so they've got but you don't get the entire game. Um,
Right.
when downloadable content first started, they were add-ons. They truly were add-ons. You didn't need them to play the game. They didn't, they were additional things, and it started to become, if you want additional parts of this story, or you want something, to answer questions about this one little aspect of the story we never really touched on, then you'll need this downloadable content in order to get it. Or if you want this kind of armor, you got to pre-order from Best Buy. If you want this kind of armor, you got to pre-order from GameStop. And so you're not getting what's worse is they don't even give you the option to then download it for Microsoft points later. Okay,
Right. For some of them. Oh yeah.
yeah, you
Nope.
didn't pre-order from Best Buy. Tough luck. You don't get this armor. You showed up on the day to get it, but you didn't pre-order the day before. You're not getting it.
And that's a good business model in a way. I mean, we don't like it, but that way, if they put out a bad game before the general populace knows it's a bad game, or that there's only 20 hours of content in a $60 game, you've already bought it. You own it. You prepaid for it a month before it even came out.
Yep.
So you're stuck with it, and it's done. And if you add that into, now I can't resell it, if they get to that point, that's going to be even more of a burn. They kind of egg you into paying for the full thing ahead of time, and then once you get it, even if you're disappointed, you can't even go get a third of your money back for it, because it's kind of useless. It's just going to sit on your shelf. It's a really fancy, shiny coaster now.
Yep. And my guess would be that should the court case go in the direction that the copyright still is retained by the copyright owner in these particular types of cases, that there will be a string of companies, or even GameStop will get into this, where they still are in the resale business, but a certain percentage of the game has to go to the original copyright owner. So you resell it. At that point, they say, okay, we're going to give you $35 for this game, but $5 of it has to go to the copyright owner, so you're going to get $30, and then GameStop will save you the trouble of having to mail the $5 off. They will automatically credit it to the copyright holder. And then when they then resell it, they'll say, okay, now we're reselling this game for $50, but 10 of it goes to the original copyright owner, so it's going to actually cost you $60 or something to that effect. Because GameStop's not going to eat that $10 for the most part.
Right.
And so basically, the price of used games will have to go up to account for, which should be interesting for games that lose their value incredibly fast, like sports games.
Right.
Now you've got a game that's in the $4 bin, but you actually have to pay $6 for it because $2 of it has to go to the copyright owner.
In that case, it probably wouldn't even be worth it for GameStop to hold on to those games. If it's below a certain dollar amount, it's kind of irrelevant for them. It's more of a hassle to sell it than to just toss it.
And that's an interesting thing, because let's say I buy let's say they rule in favor, and let's go back to textbooks. I buy a textbooks from a Thai company, and I bring it over here, and I can't resell it because I would have to give a kickback or whatever to the original copyright owner. And so I say, you know what, I'm not interested in this. I don't want to go through the trouble, and I just toss it and I just throw it away. Do I have the right to do that? Does the book belong to me enough that I can just throw it away?
Well, I think if you're not making money, then the big companies aren't going to care. They would rather you throw it away. Actually, they'll probably put a label on there saying, if you are done with this book, please dispose of it quickly, properly, and so no one else who would ever need it would find it.
So then that's interesting. Could I give it to a friend for free, like as a gift?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I would hope that whatever judgment, if it goes with the publishers on this case, is more about bulk than about individuals. It's more about, like, if I was able to go, I had a friend who lived in China or Taiwan or wherever, and they were able to get me, and cheaply ship me 1,000 copies of whatever the next big movie to come out on DVD is, Batman Rises. I just came out Tuesday. 1,000 copies of it on Blu-ray, not DVD. DVDs aren't really what they used to be.
What's
Um,
DVD? That's like an
yeah,
old record, right?
it's kind of like a laser disc, only smaller. And they could ship me 1,000 of them, and it was very affordable, and it turned out to be $3 a disc with everything for me. That should be affected. But if I can get 4 copies because you wanted one, and my brother wanted one, and my brother-in-law wanted one, and I wanted one, and they still cost me $4 a piece, and I just took the $4 from each of you, I would hope that that would be no big deal. You know what I mean?
Right, right. Yeah, almost. Yeah, exactly what you were saying. If there's a bulk amount, then that becomes kind of a red flag. But um, sort of like what they did when they were going after Kazaa and Napster and those kind of peer-to-peer things. They weren't, they tried to make these scare tactics that they would, burst down your door and come after the 12-year-old kid who's downloaded, 6 hours worth of music. But really, they were looking for the companies that were just redistributing, millions and millions of hours worth of audio. And
Right. People that were sharing just a ton of stuff.
yeah,
But that's a smart tactic, really, if you think about it, because it's those people that are really doing the most damage, because they're allowing the access. And the more times you go to a site like that or one of the torrent sites now and you find what you're looking for, the more you're going to go back.
right,
That's something that you do because, wow, every time I go, I find what I'm looking for. The new Britney Spears. Here's the new episode of that show from that cable channel that I don't get, or whatever it is that people, download most frequently nowadays. Here's that new movie that's not even out on Blu-ray yet. Um, so if you start getting rid of the people that are sharing the bulk of the goods, all of a sudden, the orchard doesn't have as much fruit, less visitors, and then it's a slow decay and die.
right. You're not making your money from your advertisers and everything on your website. So,
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And once that court case is decided, I think we should come back to it again. Um, because we'll have more information at that point as far as like what the actual decision is
right,
and what that really, how we perceive that might affect, the general people like you and I and, the general consumers. Because it's going to be interesting to see which way it goes. Because it could be a big win, a big lose, or kind of a wash if it's really kind of specific, like anything created in a country for that country cannot be sold in bulk by a non-business within the, whatever, something that's very, very specific could be a non-issue for any of us, really,
right,
except
right.
for, the poor guy who's going to lose the case if it comes to that.
All right. I think that we've taken that one about as far, other than just circling back around and talking about the same stuff.
Well, we could always talk about video games some more.
The video games. Yeah, that's true. I think a majority of every single one of these shows is going to involve some video game talk.
Probably at least a reference to something.
Yeah, yeah. I got I got Red Dead Redemption, and I still haven't put it in. I got XCOM back out. I started playing that again.
Well, don't put it until you're ready because it'll probably consume some time for a while.
Yeah, yeah. I was surprised the Game of the Year edition. I was expecting more downloadable content, but it really only has the uh,
Nightmare.
Undead Nightmare, and then there's like one other tiny little thing, like clothes or something that you got. But there
Yeah.
really wasn't. I was expecting more. I thought there was a whole bunch of other stuff.
There was, I don't know what's in the Game of Year edition. I would just go to because there's like the Thieves and Liars pack and some other there's some other stuff. It might be all combined in one for that. I'd have to look it up online to really
Yeah.
sort of know what's missing because I bought them as they came out.
Right,
Uh,
right, right.
but yeah, it's a fun game with or without the extras. I was having a lot of fun before there was any DLC for that game.
Oh yeah, yeah. Me too. I'm a little disappointed because one of the reasons why I probably haven't put it back in is because I know that I have to start the game over again because
Right.
my original save's gone.
Well, how
Uh,
far into the game were you?
Pretty far, probably three-quarters of the way through. I mean, I was pretty far along. I'd stopped going after the main quest, and um, actually I don't know if it was three-quarters of the way. I know that I'd been, there's that big gigantic river
Right.
that separates the northern area from the southern area, and I
Right.
had just the last mission that involved the main quest I remember was on the boat along the river, and then it opened up that whole other area below, and then I was doing lots of side quests down there.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's maybe halfway through if I remember correctly. It's been a while, so I could be very wrong about that. But there's all the stuff down there, and then you got to go back up north, like north of where you've been able to go so far. So there's still a lot of content beyond that. And I don't know, it's been a while since that game came out, so
Well,
I
I'm
don't think
I'm
you're
gonna
gonna.
have to, and you still have it, right?
Oh yeah, that's one of
Oh,
those games that I'm not getting rid of until I no longer own the system that I have it on.
okay. And so all I got to do, because you can do co-op on that, 2 to 4 players. So
Oh
I
yeah,
can always talk my brother into going out and getting it too. Because you can basically play it like you do any of the other Rockstar multiplayer. Um, you can still do the missions and everything? You just do them with a co-op, or are there special
I
co-op
don't. I
missions?
don't think so. It's special co-op stuff. It's it's been a while. I'd have to look it up, and I know they added more things after I had sort of beat the game and wasn't playing as much. So I'm not really sure, but you level up separately in
Oh,
the
okay,
online play,
okay.
um, and you can earn things as you level up, different mounts and et cetera, et cetera. I didn't do it a lot, so I'm not an expert by any stretch on that. But it would be something. I mean, if you're going to do it and you're having fun, let me know, man. Maybe we can jump on.
Okay, sounds good. So the next topic was a topic that I had asked you to pick out. So if you would like to introduce it.
Well, yes, I would. I was just thinking, given the season, Christmas. For the first year that I remember, we have all these stores that were open on Thanksgiving at 8 o'clock with all their bargains. As Christmas creeps closer and closer and closer, pretty soon it's going to be the Fourth of July launch sale, is what it feels like. And it's just so much consumerism. It's like there's Black Friday, and now there's I don't know, like Dark Gray Thursday. I don't know what it is. Cyber Monday, and then it just keeps going. Anytime I log on to Amazon, which is where I did most of my shopping, it's a great place. I love
Yep,
it. But
I
they're
concur.
constantly having these deals. It's all about Christmas and the deals, and so basically the point was to talk about how much uh, material consumption is getting revved up every year by Christmas. For me personally, I feel all the stores trying to hit their goals at the end of the year, and it just gets crazier and crazier. I refused to go out on Thursday. I'm not a Black Friday shopper, anyways, so it wasn't like I pushed. I avoided something that I would have normally done. But I would not have gone out on Thursday at all. And I wish less people did. I know there are a ton of people out there. It's a tradition, but just to give these stores like a hey, leave our Thanksgiving alone. Let these people spend that day with their family. I got the opportunity to do it, and I am fine with everyone else. I can wait. I can wait to do my shopping. I don't have to start at 8 o'clock on Thanksgiving night. Um, it's crazy to me. I feel like it just doesn't stop. It starts before Thanksgiving even, and then it's just go 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 go. Um, and it's gotten ridiculous for me. Christmas is really about like I love exchanging gifts. I love, you know, giving my brothers, my sister, my mom, all those people. I love just give them gifts that they're really going to enjoy. And we have a system. We exchange lists. We don't have a lot of little kids or anything around, so we can afford to just sort of spend on each other. Um, And the giving and receiving, Christmas morning, everybody being together. We've been lucky enough that all my brothers and like the whole family has always lived in the same area, so we have never missed a Christmas. So there's like a lot of tradition there, and that's what Christmas is to me. But Walmart and Target and all the other retailers, I mean, not to pull anybody's name out of a hat, it's pretty much all the retailers from top to bottom are just trying to squeeze every last dime and make it about the purchasing more than the, for me, it's about family. It's not a religious holiday for me in really any respect. And for a lot of people, it is, though. And I still, that's way more important than how much, money we're spending on each other. So I don't know. I just feel like we got off track with the whole holiday, and it just gets worse and worse and worse every year.
Do you think, because I've been thinking about it since you suggested the topic, do you think that the reason, because as I think back to growing up, and the consumerism around Christmas has always been there. For as long as I can remember. And the debate over the balance between consumerism and Christmas has also, I feel like, has always been there. I would agree that it's interesting I mean, Black Friday's always been there since, but obviously before either one of us. I mean, Black Friday goes back to like World War II or something, if I remember correctly. It goes back pretty far. I might be overshooting it by a couple of decades, but either way, it's before our time. And so I guess my question is, do you think that the reason that the companies are pushing so hard this year in particular, and last year's midnight openings and things like that, which were last year and the year before that, those were breaking the mold things, opening at 6 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, at midnight on Black Friday, and then this year was the break of the mold, where being open or opening on Thanksgiving. I happen to work for a company that is open 365 days a year, so us being open on Thanksgiving was not a change. That was normal. But the companies like Target and Walmart that are opening early on Thanksgiving, do you think that the reason that might be has to do more with the recession that we're still trying to claw our way out of?
Well, for the companies, I could see where that would come up if they were talking about having a meeting about it. But honestly, it works. They do it, and all the people show up. They have a couple doorbusters. It's like if I opened a bar and I was like, the first 4 people in get one free drink, and everyone else pays full price, but there's still a line around the building. You know what I mean? Because that's kind of what it seems like it equates to. Because I don't do it, and I looked a little bit online at what was out there, because you never know. Sometimes there might be something so fantastic it makes me want to go out there, but that's going to make 1,000 more me's go out, and there are already going to be 1,000 people there, so I probably still wouldn't do it.
I would just suggest that if you ever have that feeling, fight it. As someone who actually, as someone who went to a Target on Thanksgiving, not because I wanted to go, but because my wife's family wanted to go, and so I was going along with my wife, and we weren't taking the kids with us, and so most of the time, any kind of an opportunity for my wife and I to go and do something without the kids, we tend to take advantage of. I have to tell you, if you ever have that feeling, no matter how good the deal is, you have to fight it, because it's not worth it.
Yeah, and I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people saw the news footage of some of the crazy stuff that happens, and it's every year. Every year, they could almost just put in the same footage from last year, and no one would think any different, because it's always the same. Some crazy crowd, someone gets pushed over, or people just get snippy with each other, because you can't have that many people that close together without somebody getting snippy.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think. I mean, the recession could have an effect as far as them wanting to do it, but the people show up. They show up, and I think that's what is going to make it. So next year, it's going to happen again, and next year maybe it's going to be 6 o'clock. Let's be open. Let's try to be open before they are. You know what I mean? Let's be the first place. Let's get everyone at our store first, and then they can do hopefully more of their shopping, so they have less things they need to buy when they go to the store that opens at 8 o'clock, and we can get more of this cut, and it never ends.
Well,
When does it end?
that's definitely the drive for them is separate your customer from their money early, as early as you can, because you don't want them, because once they've left your store, or once they have an opportunity to go into another store, then they're not going to spend their money at your store. And so it's get them to your store as quickly as possible, get them to spend their money as quickly as possible, and then get them out the door so that you can get the next person in.
Right.
Um,
Well, and
yeah.
that's what they want Christmas to be for us. It's all about spending. Buy more, buy it from us. What's Christmas to you? Like, what are the aspects of Christmas that are most important for you?
Well, that's interesting. I get that question from time to time, because many people that I know, who know me, know I'm an atheist, and so there's this war on Christmas, and so we have to have our atheist meetings to figure out what we're going to do for our war on Christmas, uh, which that's obviously tongue in cheek. That's a joke. That is that Christmas. I I like Christmas a lot. I enjoy Christmas, and I enjoy spending time with my family. That's really what it's always been. As a child, Christmas was always the time when I got a bunch of presents. But we were supposed to say it's not about the presents. It's about giving presents to other people. It's not about getting presents. But deep down in my mind, I knew that I was just reciting something, and that Christmas was really about the presents. Um, you know, and But nowadays, it's for me, it's not about the presents. It's really gotten more to the, and my wife takes care of all of the who we need to buy for and what we're going to buy, and I just say, okay, well, how much money do we need to do it? And I more enjoy the getting together with people, spending time. I like being around people, and so that's what's important to me. Sometimes I get to take a day off. This year I'll actually be working on Christmas, but I'm okay with that because I had Thanksgiving off. Um,
W- Do you
Sorry.
have to work all day on Christmas or
Yeah,
AM,
we're
PM?
open. Yeah, we're open. We're opening at 8 and we close at 6.
That's fine. Your kids are going to be up at like 3 in the morning. Christmas will be done by like 5. You're good.
Well, see, now you got me. Now you got me going for when I grew up. And this is my wife. This drives her crazy, and it still sticks with me to this day. I hate opening presents on Christmas. I hate opening them. I can't. I want to take so much time in opening them. When I was growing up, my parents instilled in us the not the desire to run downstairs, rip open all of our presents. And the way they did this, it is a unique thing. I came from a huge family. I am one of 8 children.
Wow.
So I have 3 other brothers, 4 other sisters, a another young girl who I affectionately would call my half sister, but she was never like actually adopted or anything. My parents were took care of a lot of kids, they were foster parents for a lot of kids, and this was one girl that they had taken care of for a while, and she's still in contact with my mom and everything. But anyway, so what we would do is on Christmas Day, you couldn't start opening presents until everybody was up, and everybody had to have had breakfast. So people get up. If you get up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, it didn't make a difference. You could get up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning if you wanted to, but you have to wait for everyone else to get up and everyone else to have breakfast. Then after we do that, then we all come into the living room, um, and gather around the Christmas tree, and we each get to pick one present. And so we're all sitting around with our one present, and then we pick a who's going to open first. And it might start from the oldest and go to the youngest, or it might start from the tallest and go to the shortest, or vice versa. And we'd all open a present, and we everybody would sit there while one person at a time opened their present. It wasn't everybody open your present and look at it. It was okay. It's the eldest sister's turn to open the present, and then it's the next person's turn, and the next person. We all sit and watch and take pictures. After that's done, we don't open another present for an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, so we go off and we play with the present that we just opened, or we put it together, or we go and fight, or we go play video games. You
Probably
know,
a mix of all of the above.
all of the go find some snacks or go eat cookies, whatever. That's what we would do. An hour later, we all get back together. We come up with how we're going to open presents this time, whatever. Not the same way as last time, but that way different people get to open first and second and last. And then after the second present, we wait another hour until we open the next present. So Christmas took until 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. And by that time, most of the time, either people have run out of presents, or some people are just, they've only got 3 presents left, and it's 6 o'clock at night, and they just want to open the last present, so they open them. And so whenever we go anywhere and I get presents, I watch as everybody tears into all like 6 of their presents that they got, and I'm sitting there with my 6 presents, and my wife has to like kick me in order to get me to open my presents because I feel like it should take time and we shouldn't just all tear into the presents.
Yeah, yeah, and that's good. I mean, especially at a young age, as an adult, it's easy to be like, "Oh, you open your presents." You know what I mean? For most adults, not all adults. I know some that can't wait. Um, I'm more excited to watch people open the presents I got for them than open my own presents. I would much rather have them like, "Okay, let's all open what I got you." You know what I mean? First,
Oh,
and just, especially if I know I got something that they really wanted, because that is just awesome. You know what I mean? Especially when they didn't, I don't know. That's one of my favorite parts. But when we were growing up, we used to do something similar. We'd open them all in a row, but it'd be one person would open a present, and then we just go around the room and keep doing that until all the presents were gone. Um, Now, as adults, we usually just pick one person, they open all their presents, and then the next person, it's usually a fight for whoever's on the left and the right to try to get the other person to open theirs next,
yeah.
because we're generally polite adults on Christmas. And then it just goes around the room like that until everybody's open, and then we usually have our breakfast brunch, and just sort of hang out and enjoy Christmas, which is that kind of stuff is way more what I feel Christmas really is about. We get inundated with everything on TV and ads when we're in the stores and everything.
Well, you're talking on TV, you're talking about the commercials.
Oh yeah, which I fast forward through most of because I DVR almost everything I watch.
Because I would say that an aspect to the Christmas holiday are the claymation Santa stories and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Not things that I would necessarily, if I saw it on TV, would I sit down and watch. Only if maybe the kids were in the room and they were interested in it. But I feel like those are, cornerstones to that Christmas holiday. And Christmas music, don't even get me started because my wife gets mad at me if I start humming or singing Christmas music before her birthday, which her birthday is right around Thanksgiving. It's either on Thanksgiving or the week of Thanksgiving. So for her, you're not allowed to sing Christmas songs before Thanksgiving. There's not allowed to be snow or her birthday. Um, but I love Christmas music. Some of it I can do without, but in general, I love most Christmas music, and so I don't have a problem with that starting in November.
Yeah, well, don't you find because at your work they play Christmas music, right?
Yes, not every single song, and even on like Christmas Day, they won't even every single song be Christmas music. Um,
See, I think that's fine. I think the radios can go all Christmas music in places like that, like 3 days leading up to Christmas and Christmas. But they play it at my work too, and it just gets in your head because it gets overplayed, in my opinion. A lot of songs get overplayed, Christmas or not, both aspects of that bother me. I don't like songs. There's so much music out there, but they have to play this song 3 times in 4 hours. Thank you very much.
or
Um,
three different versions of the same song.
right. Oh, if I could only be so lucky as to get a couple remixes thrown in there. Um, but I feel like they really. I mean, I like Christmas music too, but it has so much more meaning when it's just those few days for me. I could actually like put on a Christmas CD in my car while driving, like the day before Christmas Eve, and enjoy that.
Okay,
Um, but it's another like overflow of it. Like too much of a good thing for me personally.
right. Well, I mean, there's there are definitely the more the Christmas songs that get played way too much, and those are the ones that I tend to not like as much. Every year, I try to see how long I can go without having listened to Christmas Shoes, I believe it's called.
Not familiar off the top of my head. I'm sure if I heard it,
It
um,
was a I think it was a country song that came out 5 or 6 years ago, and it became like this huge hit. It might have not even been that soon. It might have even been longer than that. But the gist of it is this kid's at a store and wants to buy some shoes for his mommy who's about to die. Is basically it, because
nothing like a
she's
good old sad
you
country
you
song.
better believe it. You better believe it. Oh my God. Don't even. Oh yeah. Don't get me started on that, because that song is insane. Um, that's a crazy song. But like, I can definitely do without Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That song drives me crazy. Um, but Carol of the Bells. You could play Carol of the Bells for me 20 times a day, and I'd still love it. Um, but yeah, I mean, like I'd like Christmas music early. But I love the lights on houses. I would never do it because that's too much work to me.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's two sides of work. Put it up, take it down.
Yeah, yeah, and knowing me, I'd put it up and then I wouldn't take it down until March or April.
But you think about it, if you're having a party, you can turn those lights on and be like, "Hey, my house is the only house on the street that's got Christmas lights on."
You'll be able to find my place.
Hey, it's a bonus, right?
That's why I liked last year we sold Halloween lights that you could flip a switch and they would turn into Christmas lights. They were
Oh,
like orange and purple, and then you'd flip a switch and they'd turn into red and green and white. I think red, green, and white or something. But so you could put them up for Halloween, and then you flip a switch, and now your house is decorated for Christmas.
that's kind of neat.
Yeah, yeah. Especially for people who don't want to decorate for both holidays. But yeah, I mean, like I enjoy driving out to places where people go crazy with putting up lots of lights and driving through the area and seeing how they've decorated their houses. Um, with the lights. That's one aspect I like about Christmas. Um, I like the snow in the sense that how it makes everything look. I hate the snow in the sense of how cold. Obviously, it has to be in order to have snow. The danger and difficulty that wet snow on the street creates. Um,
Yes.
I could do without that. If they could come up with a way to put snow out when it's 72 degrees, Fahrenheit out there, I would definitely enjoy that much more than 13 degrees Fahrenheit or -7.
Yeah. None of that, please. But we'll see it eventually. This is Chicagoland. It's coming. It might be tomorrow.
I don't know. It's been warm.
Yeah, but it's Chicago, so it could still be tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the Christmas season, um, for me, it's gotten to be, and maybe it's just something that comes with age. It's gotten to be more about spending time with family, but it does make for a good excuse to buy yourself something.
Yeah, I try to limit that. That's why online shopping is really good. Because I don't walk by something and I'm like, oh, and then I buy something else for myself. But I have the good situation, like I said, with my family on Thanksgiving. We all exchange gift lists of things that we want. Um, so you buy stuff that the person wants, and everything that you get is going to be something that you actually want. You know, because especially when I was younger, and I'm sure everybody's dealt with this. You ask for an iPod, like I wouldn't. When I was younger, there was no such thing as an iPod. We had 8-track players, but you ask for an iPod, and then you get the Zune, or you get some,
You get
knockoff MP3
yeah,
player.
yeah, you get
You
some
know,
4 gig thing they picked up at a local.
right?
Um,
And for me, I'd rather not get any MP3 player than get the one that I didn't really want. I'd
Yeah,
rather
then I'm
just wait and save the money and buy the one that I really want if they can't. But it works out really well. It's I don't know. But like I said, the bottom line for me is Christmas Day with my whole family, both my brothers, my sister, my mom, my brother-in-law is always there. And that day and just our traditions that day, that's Christmas for me. And I love it. And I'm really lucky. I work Christmas Eve, but my family does nothing on Christmas Eve. But I have Christmas and the day after off, um, which is extra nice. You know what I mean? This year to have that 2 days back to back, kind of Christmas and then a day to come home and relax and, sort of still have that, feeling for a day before you got to go back to work and it's the same old grind.
Well, it looks like we have run out of time. We just keep talking.
We do. We're planning on doing the 10-hour podcast, but for now we're going to keep it to like an hour, I think.
So that we don't drive people insane. The last little thing that I just want to kind of wrap up with is I want to let everybody out there know that in the very near future we will have at the very least an email set up so that you guys can suggest topics or kind of give us your thoughts on any of the things that we've talked about. Hopefully, eventually there'll be maybe a Facebook page or something to that effect, chat rooms maybe even, and hopefully live casts so that you guys can even call in and voice your opinion yourself. And so we will keep you up to date on these things, and I hope that you guys are interested. In regards to the topics that we had today, the only thing I'm going to say is it is interesting what's going to go on with the copyrights. We will keep an eye on it, and hopefully as soon as we hear something next year or sooner, if that should happen, we will definitely make it one of the topics of the time. Yeah, James, thoughts?
I just hope you enjoyed the podcast. And when we do get the email set up, don't forget we know we're not experts at anything, so we're going to make some mistakes. But beyond that, thanks anyone who's listening, and we will see you next week.
All right. See ya.